All right, guys, how are you? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. Welcome to another episode of On the Block with Jen. I'm your favorite devil's advocate, Jen. You can reach me on all social media platforms, On the Block with Jen, YouTube, On the Block with Jen, TikTok, On the Block with Jen, Instagram, On the Block with Jen, at Gmail, On the Block with Jen, Facebook, and guess where else? On the Block with Jen on Cash App. If you want to support the show because you like it here and you're catching the replay and you can't super chat me, feel free to hit me with a Cash App. I'll be doing my dishes or my laundry, you know the routine. I may even be asleep and your Cash App may come through on my phone. Those are my favorite Cash Apps, okay? When I'm not even on and I get one. It means that you saw something long after I calmed down and you appreciated it. And I appreciate you, okay? Because you don't have to give me a dime of your hard-earned money, but you do. So I appreciate you very, very much. You can super chat me in the chat if you want me to notice your comment and you want me to throw it up on the screen, or if you want to send me a gift privately, because a lot of people don't like other people to know where their money is going. Cash at me privately on the block with Jen, okay? All discretion. All right, guys. So tonight, okay, two of the block faves will not be here. Lily had to work. She was on set all day. She deserves a day off. And Haran is doing family things. And family is first, okay, on the block. Family is priority. So I'm not sure if he's going to peek in or not. So it's just going to be us tonight. Of course, everyone is welcome to cam up. You know the rule here. I only got the one. You got to cam up. We don't argue with avatars up here, okay? And conversations are just so much better with faces, okay? When you see reactions. So I dropped the link. I have a guest tonight, Amiri Brown from the Amiri Brown Show. I saw him on the Star Report. You guys know I'm a regular caller to the Star Report. And I heard Amiri Brown the other day. His commentary on the manosphere was quite profound, very interesting, very different from the rhetoric we usually hear about the manosphere. And I thought he was very brave for his commentary because, you know, a lot of people are against what he's saying. So let's bring my people up. I'm going to get into a little bit. I brought some visuals. Okay. I have some videos for you because I like showing you better than I can tell you. Tonight's topic is loaded and layered. We only have Amiri for an hour, so I want to get him in and out. Tonight's topic, amongst other things, because it is layered tonight, okay? Trigger warning, if you don't like hearing about race, your race, his race, her race, any race, this is probably not the stream for you tonight, okay? All right, guys. So tonight's topic, again, is layered. Is interracism worse than systemic racism? Okay. Is Deion Sanders profiting from systemic oppression? Is the manosphere more destructive than positive? Does TikTok have minstrel shows? Are Black content creators profiting from Black stereotypes? There's a lot of things popping tonight. All right, so let me bring my people up and let's get this conversation started so I can start with my visuals. Again, welcome. Want to welcome Amiri Brown from the Amiri Brown Show. How are you, sir? Can't hear you.
How you doing?
How are you? Good to see you. Good to see your face. Good to put the voice with the face because I had no idea who you were until I heard you on the Star Report. And I was like, who is that masked man? And Star sent me your information. So I was like, we got to get him up here. I want to bring up No Saint, one of the block regulars. How are you, sir? And George Cook. How are you, darling?
Hello.
It's actually so great that first of all, welcome to all of you. It's so great that you guys are here because we're going to talk a lot of Black and a lot of white. So it's interesting that you guys are up here tonight. Again, Lily and Haran going to skip tonight. They got other business to tend to, but they'll be back tomorrow for Freaky Friday. All right, guys. Amiri, I'd like for you to tell people what your channel is about and what you do, etc. Whatever you want people to know or where they can find you.
Okay. Well, my channel is it's a channel that's dedicated to talking about all things intrinsic to the Black experience. We deal with a host of issues, social, economics, politics, religion, you know, and just other trending topics that's going on in the society, relationships, dating, And that's pretty much it.
Okay, so it's like the block. And would you say religion? Just curious, what religion? You mean religion as a whole, or do you have a specific religion
No,
that
just
you
religion,
promote?
just religion in a whole, as a whole. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So I know we are pressed for time with you, and I'm grateful that you're
Mhm.
here and you're giving us some time. So I'm just going to jump right into this. Let's just rip the band aid off. Let's just rip it off. So,
Okay.
earlier last week, I believe Scott Adams is a cartoonist. He does Dilbert. I'm not sure if you guys
Hmm.
are familiar. But he said a couple of he said a couple of comments that were incendiary. His comic got stripped from a couple of publications. If you ask him, he says he got canceled for these comments. I want to play these comments really, really quickly. I just got a couple seconds of it. And then I want to get into dissecting this, and then it's going to be a segue into the main topic. So
Okay.
let's just pull up Scott Adams and hear what he had to say. He sounded quite frustrated.
Get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population. Because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density. This is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon. Sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. It's over.
Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. So, Amiri, I don't know if you're
Mhm.
familiar with my channel or not, but I'm big on letting everybody have their say and their
Mhm.
experience. That is that man's experience. I'm not
Mhm.
here to challenge him. I'm not here to make it better. I'm not even here to fix it. But I do like to dissect, topics like this. Does he have a right to feel that way? Does he have a right to say it publicly? Is it his experience? And also, would it be
Mhm.
okay if a black person said the exact same thing? And is it hypocritical? If so,
Well, no, I think he has a right to say what he's saying. I think he has a right to, feel the way he feels. But the thing for me that stuck out is when he mentioned Don Lemon. And the thing I just want to point out about Don Lemon is that Don Lemon is not a social science. Like when we're talking about black people as a community or any community of people, there's a whole host of social science articles and research done that kind of explains the condition of where these people live, the behaviors that are exhibited where they live, and why these things continue to manifest. I think one thing we have to remember when we talk about human behavior is that behavior isn't self-manifesting. Behavior is a response to stimuli in one's environment, and so that's the troubling part about what he said. When you make these categorical statements about black people, I mean, to sit up there and suggest that black people as a whole are a hate group, I think is reckless. So while I won't categorize his statements as racist, I will categorize him as reckless and irresponsible to put that out there in the social discourse in the way he did.
okay. So, do you think that because I have this sign here. It's
Mhm.
it's me being facetious, right?
Right.
Um, it sounded to me like a blanket statement. Are you saying that he
Mhm.
should have qualified it and been like, "Hey, not all, some," like the way I do with the sign?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, because look, when we're talking about the behavior that he was kind of mentioning, we all know that this stuff has a lot to do with class. And we're talking about low class. And I don't want to sound elitist when I say this, but it just is what it is. And we talk about black people who live in urban areas or live in the ghetto. But the thing is that you have that same type of community in white America. He didn't say that he wanted to get away from white people in the trailer park. He didn't say he wanted to get away from crackers. Like the term cracker, it's a term that referred to poor whites. You see, so I think when you make statements like that, you have to be particular about who you're talking about, make distinctions. But even in making that distinction, I think we need to remember that poor people are human beings, and so we shouldn't talk about other human beings in a way that's dehumanizing, because then what it does is it makes the people who are most vulnerable in our society even more vulnerable to attack. And so that's why I said his statements were definitely reckless at the very least.
That's a great point. Actually, I didn't think about that before. George, no Saint, you got anything on this?
Yeah. I would like to, I mean, he took a lot of my thunder. I'm sitting there laughing at the guy because, okay, what you find out is there are brilliant people that say stupid things and have stupid beliefs. I mean, and he's doing the whole Don Lemon thing, just like white people say, well, Bill Cosby said you got to pull up your pants, as if somehow Bill Cosby is an expert. You know what I mean? Or Don Lemon's an expert. And what he was saying, what Mari Brown was saying, is exactly what's running through my head. Is like that has more to do with poverty and money, and the money has to do with poverty. Like I got to move to this neighborhood, and so I can get rid of it. He's exactly right. It's like white. He's not living in a quote unquote white trash neighborhood either, or any kind of a place that has poverty. Because there are a lot of pockets of white poverty that you get the same results, right? So it made me smile and shake my head. And then the whole thing of I'm tired of helping. I want to know how he's helped black people. I hate when he acts like he's helping. I don't know what he did. He's just talking as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to help anymore because I'm called a racist. No, you're getting called a racist. And I don't know if he's a racist or not, but you're getting called a racist most likely because you said some very insensitive things and some tone deaf things.
Okay. George, do you think that he's just sick and tired of maybe what he deems as propaganda, as race baiting, as pulling the race card? Do you think he's just fed up old white man in America that's just sick of it?
Yeah, I think so. That's part of it. But let's back up a few seconds before that video where the context of this is. There was a poll that came out from Rasmussen. And the question was, is it okay? They surveyed 1,000 adults and they posed the question, is it okay to be white? And the responses, like 20 some odd % of blacks said no. And then another 20 some odd % said they weren't sure. So what he did, he added the two together and he said it was like 40 some odd % of blacks say it's not okay to be white. And then he takes off into, then he goes off into this rant about, don't help black people and all that. Because I was watching it when he said it. And as he said it, I just cringed. Because I was like, whoa. I would have approached that poll and said this, that if that poll, and also kind of cutting, you don't know what the black people who answered the way they did, what they meant by it's okay. Okay. And if you take it at face value, it's
I mean, it's a strange question though.
Yes. I'm thinking of something. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, so this guy's not, he makes Dilbert. He's obviously not very well thought out. He's letting 1,000 people in a poll that makes it's a dumb poll, bait him into getting, not baiting him, race baiting. He's getting angry over 1,000 people that probably 50, I'm assuming 50% are just saying, hell no. As a, like, I'm going to put, you can't, it wasn't a scientific poll. So how smart is this guy? And then he's going to go off. He's had that's more than just a poll. He's got some underlying stuff that's been building up, because I would laugh at a poll like that. What does that even mean? Is it okay to be white? I have no choice in the matter. So I'm living my life.
Well, kind of shed some light on that poll. Actually, is a scientific poll. It was 1,000 people. They know this. You have about 1,000 people is usually the population size. If you watch these political polls and all that, they do this. And the confidence interval was plus or minus 3% at the 95th percent confidence level. So
okay, who they ask?
It's the people they talk to.
Who they ask? The conscious community?
What's that?
Who they ask? The conscious? You're going to get, if you go to the conscious community, you're going to get a totally different answer than you go somewhere else.
I don't know. The
polls can get slanted. Who did the poll?
Rasmussen.
Okay, who is that? Yeah,
they do all kinds of political polls, commentary, cultural.
Okay, I'll look into that. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's but anyhow, I went to look at it. So it's to your point, No Saint. It's kind of like, even though that's scientific, it's like just who were they talking to? I don't know the methodology. And what I'm about to say is, Scott Adams, who is a very intelligent dude, should have thought about that and saying, hey, what's the backstory behind this poll? Why is that question there? And so on. And then go from there. My thought was, if that's truly accurate for Black America, I was like, wow, there is a narrative that has been pushed, about the oppression and all that kind of stuff. That is like in a lot of people's minds. So it's like, but that doesn't make me want to run away from Black people either.
Well, my question is this, George. How is that affecting his life? Every single Black person in this country can think it's all right not to be white. It's not affecting my life. So why is he getting so upset about it?
Well, I'll tell you, if you noticed, he brought up on another podcast. I don't follow it. And he said, yeah, I watch his, read his comics. I've been reading them for about 30 years. I mean,
okay. Yeah. Cause that's how long it's been out. Okay, great.
Yeah. And so
you know about him.
I've got a few of his books and well written, all that, pretty funny stuff. But anyway, he said, he says where he's coming from is, he said that when Trump ran for office, he said he's one of these people. He's like socially liberal, okay, but like maybe conservative on other points, right? He said, I don't like Donald Trump, but a few of his policies make sense. And when he said that, and I remember at the time it happened, he was called misogynistic, racist, all the is that you can think of. And so when all that started, he mentioned in a few of his other podcasts since then, he said, I'm just basically, no matter what I do, I'm going to be called a racist. And so he's kind of like you said, Jen, earlier, the old white man who just basically throws his hands up and says, I'm done with it. And
so let me ask a question for Amiri and for you, George. Do you think, you said the narrative of oppression, right? So do you think that even if a Black person or a person of color is not under any sort of oppressive boot, do you think that because the narrative is perpetuated, that they will take that on and then take a survey and be like, hey, to hell with those white people?
That's why I'm saying about, I don't know what they meant by, is it okay? Because the question itself, like you said, Jen, it's weird, right? And it's loaded. That you're talking about a loaded question. That's loaded. And
it's a little weird. The question's a little weird.
Okay, in terms of this. Okay, in terms of that. That's what I thought about.
They should have asked, do you like white people? Amiri, what do you think?
Well, let me say this. I don't think we should dismiss, the real lived experiences of Black Americans, and I mean, nor dismiss the empiricism that shows that there is still severe oppression in this country. I mean, listen, while we're sitting here having this conversation about oppression, let's just be clear. What Scott Adams was advocating for was oppression, because what he's talking about is segregation. then that's part of the problem in this country, that black people are still segregated. We're not integrated. We're just as segregated as we've ever been. And what segregation is nothing but a form of quarantine. So what you in effect have is you have the larger institutions and apparatuses of the society treating black people as if we are COVID. You see, and so I don't think we should dismiss the real lived life experiences of black people. And look, if you want to talk about what we're categorized as in this country, we're categorized as minorities. And we live in a country, in a nation where it says liberty and justice for all and equality. And so if I'm a minority and you're the majority, then how can we be equal? And see, so we have to stop pretending and dancing around these issues as if there aren't very real ways that this society is structured that is meant to keep one group minor and another group major.
So what do you think about religious leaders, black religious leaders that are for separatism, that feel like we should be away, people of color should be away? Also, Jared Taylor one time said, and it made sense to me at the time, I still think about it, he said that no other word, the melting pot of America, it's a myth, and nowhere in the world will you, discover a tribe, and that tribe will be being forced to be some sort of melting pot. Since the beginning of time, tribes have stuck to themselves. But here in America, there's this persistence and insistence that we should all melt together and be one big happy family, when tribes are, and it's true, when you look at natives, when you look at Asians, when you look at, so why this push for this constant melting pot when it does not work? It hasn't worked, right? Yeah, we have interracial dating or whatever, but obviously it's done a lot more harm than good. I feel there's still systemic oppression, there's still systemic racism. It seems like trying to force a square into a hole. What's wrong with separatism?
Well, there's nothing wrong with separatism per se. What I'm talking about is the quarantine aspect, and I'm not. This isn't even the fault of everyday white people who they're just trying to live their lives and and do what they're doing. The problem is that we have these institutions and these apparatuses that perpetuate the structural inequality, and the way they perpetuate the structural inequality is through segregation. Now, it's true that to a certain extent, subgroups will self-segregate themselves. But the problem with, specifically here in America, and this is what I would say to Jared Taylor, it was too late for that, buddy. Because if you wanted to stay separate, then you should have came over here by yourself and never brought our black asses here. And so when we talk about what's going on in this country, we have to keep in mind that black people in America, specifically ADOS and FBA black people, have a unique claim to the very foundations of this country. The person who first took a bullet for America was a freed slave named Crispus Attucks. We're talking about a group of people who fought in every major American conflict. From World War I, World War II, World War III. I'm sorry, let's not have World War III, but the Spanish-American War. And so we're talking about a group of people who's paid dues into the very foundations of this country. And so when we're talking about integration, when we're talking about equality, I'm not necessarily talking about us living amongst each other and not having a certain level of self-separation. We're talking about a more even distribution of the resources of this country that one group is hoarding a lion's share of at the expense of the group that they categorize as minor, while telling us that we all have equality. Make it make sense.
That's a great argument. Thank you for the super chat, Donovan. Yes, please hit the like button for me. All right, guys. If you have a rebuttal for Mary, let's hear it. If not, okay.
I want to say what made to me the Dilbert. I'm going to call him Dilbert because I don't know his name. So Dilbert,
Scott Adams.
Yeah. What offends me about what he says is, and people need to realize, I'm tired. I'm not going to help anymore. No, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. So you are going to help. It offends me to sit there and not realize exactly what Amari's saying. All the tax base leaves the urban areas, so the schools are shitty. So there's less of an education inside the state. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make it out. There's plenty of people that make it out, right? But it makes it harder. and the division of resources. So I think the whole melting pot is a beautiful part of what's written. It is. It's a beautiful idea. And some of us can do it. I mean, I feel very comfortable intermingling with whomever. My neighborhood is a mixed neighborhood. I don't have an issue with it. But as a whole, there are humans have this problem, and we're tribal. We're tribal.
Mhm.
So even in politics, we're tribal.
Sports,
but
it's everywhere. Yeah.
Sports is a perfect example. People are fighting over these two. Beating each other up over two teams that really have nothing to do with themselves. They're just, that's my team. I'm gonna, don't you hit my quarterback like that. But I mean, he's absolutely right. It's when you talk about oppression and when you talk about integration, he's much more on point when he says, listen, when we're talking about integration of economics. It's not necessarily integration of living next to each other and everybody share. Let's be fair about it. And to say that and for this guy Dilbert to sit there and say, I'm tired of helping. Like I said, what has he done? What has he done? He doesn't say the N-word. I don't know. What has he done?
All right. Well, that's a fair question. I'd like to know. He didn't elaborate. Before we move on, George, have you heard him elaborate of what he's done for Black people? Because he made it. He was very adamant about not helping Black people anymore. He's kind of tired helping Black people, and he said it's over, it's done. Have you ever heard him speak to that? What he's done?
Specifically, no. But he mentioned in the video, he said that he's helped Black people like in the careers and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so kind of like, because he was like, I think he was a manager. I don't know. But what I'm going to say is push back a bit with Amiri that let's just say everything you said is 100% true.
Okay.
Then I've got two things that come up that kind of really pokes a hole in that. And that is Barack Obama was elected twice in this country by white people. White people put him in office. Okay, numerically, there wasn't enough Blacks and the Asians, Latinos, whoever to put him over the line. But white people in record numbers voted for him. Okay.
Okay.
And so I look at that.
Okay.
And I look at, you've got LeBron James, the first billionaire athlete in history. People like, and I said this to a Black guy one time. I said, the one thing I know about white people is this, having been in this life, right, is they like winners and they like making money. And so, you saw the reason, but you saw when Jackie Robinson got into baseball, he encountered a lot of resistance at first, but then they saw how good he was. And then, things changed. The same thing with, what I'm trying to say is if it was just as oppressive as what I've heard you describe it, we would have never heard of Michael Jordan. We would have never heard of Kobe Bryant. We would have never heard of Barack Obama. We would have never heard of Tim Scott, the senator in South Carolina, first Black senator in that history. We wouldn't have seen all of that. And there is the rise of the Black middle class. Now, in terms of economic distribution, I think what you want is coming and is actually happening, but it's not something that happens in 60 years. And also the other thing about systemic racism, this is where I think it's a concept that it's kind of like it has truth to it, but I think it's been way overplayed. And that is that when they set up institutions, it was all there for white people and to exclude Black people. We know that there was Jim Crow laws, there was redlining, there's all these things. Okay. But then what they've done over the last 60, 70 years is they've rooted a lot of that out. Now it's not gone. But that's what I'm saying is that what I heard, Jim, what I heard when I talk about the narrative, Amiri kind of recited it. And it's kind of like when I look around and I see all of this, I'm like, well, wait a minute, something's going on here that doesn't quite fit. And just to give you a little bit of context about myself, because when I say stuff like this, it's really easy to misunderstand me. I came from a working class family. My father didn't finish high school. My mother had 1 year of college. Statistically, I should not have even went to college or got a degree or anything. I went to integrated schools all my life. My first grade teacher was black. My third grade teacher was black. Fifth grade teacher was black. Sixth grade was black. When I got to junior high, it was a mixture of black and white. I went to a school where it was majority black. I went to a school where it was majority white, and ended up at the end in high school, it was about maybe 60-40. I think it was 60% white, 40% black. And we all got along. I didn't say that we were all singing Kumbaya or anything like that, but it was different. And then that's what I'm saying is that my background, where I came from, we had a black family move into our neighborhood in the 70s. And then, so that's where I'm basing all this on, is I'm looking around through my lens and I'm saying my experience doesn't line up when they start talking about the prototypical white person or something like that. I mean, it just does not line up. And so that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
All right. Well, let me respond to a couple of things. Let me give a more fine grained definition of what I mean when I mean oppression. I think a more accurate term is suppression. That there are things in place and things that are practiced to keep a certain group suppressed economically. And even, like, for example, you mentioned LeBron James. LeBron James is a billionaire. So imagine how much money he made for the corporations who made him a billionaire. And so when we're talking, right. So when we're talking about economic justice, what we're talking about is, we're not talking about being able to be better consumers. We're talking about actually being able to be producers and own what we produce. See, there's a difference. If you look at any of the major institutions or corporations in this country, we don't have one that's black. If you look at a organization like the NFL, for example, I think roughly 60% of the players in the NFL are African American, yet we don't have one black NFL team owner. And the NFL is an organization that's tax exempt. So when we're talking about the economic distribution, we're talking about actually being able to produce and not just being relegated to consumers. And that's what I mean when I say suppression. And there has been some language that's been used that isn't necessarily accurate by some people, like the term oppression. I think a better term that needs to be used is suppression. There are things in place meant to economically suppress a certain group. And so what happens when you have that type of situation, you will have some people who make it out. You will have this rise of a middle class, but what nobody wants to pay attention to is that it's going to create an underclass. And what we're seeing actually happening is we're seeing the creation of a permanent underclass, because when we talk about us as a community, Black Americans, we only have access to 2.6% of this nation's wealth. We're 13% of the population who only has access to 2%. Think about that. You see, and so what that means is, even amongst us as a community, there isn't enough wealth circulating amongst us as a people where we can see a more even distribution of middle class standard of living amongst Black people. That is the problem. But no one really wants to pay attention to that and look at the way that these things are reinforced through the structures of this society, whether we're talking about mass incarceration, whether we're talking about lack of quality education. I mean, look at a place like Mississippi. It just came out a few months ago with this whole scandal with Brett Favre colluding with the governor of the state to take welfare funds proceeds and use it to build a stadium, I believe, for his daughter's team.
Right.
We have places like Flint, Michigan, where the water pipes are rusted. You see what I'm saying? So we have some very real issues in this country, and I don't think any of us can think it's a coincidence that when we find incidences like this, it's always seems to be targeting a certain group of people.
Well,
So let me jump in here real quick. You said two things that were interesting, Amiri. You said that there's an underclass, right? Is that
Mhm.
race specific though? Like if I go to New York and go to Chinatown, those are poor Chinese people. If I go to a trailer park, those are poor white people. If I go to the South Bronx, those are poor Puerto Rican people. If I go to Harlem, I could find poor Black people. Is an underclass race specific? And something else you said that was interesting. You said relegated to consumers. Whose fault is it if someone, earns, I don't know, say $80,000-$90,000 a year and then goes out and gives it all back to Italian, French designers, the Jordan brand, the Nike brand? Like,
Mhm.
whose fault is that? What exactly do you mean by relegated? Who's forcing people to, you know what I mean? The turnover of money in our communities, it's a couple minutes. We get it, we give it. We get it, we give it. So
Right.
when are we going to stop blaming the system, so to speak? Because I still feel like we're still blaming someone outside of us, like someone's forcing us to be consumers and someone's forcing us not to boycott the NFL. If the NFL is predominantly Black, the players, why don't they just sit out and say, we're not going to play? I keep hearing a lot of what we don't have, and it's very easy for us to have it long as we stand up for it. I mean, there doesn't even have to be bloodshed. All players have to do is say, we're not going to suit up until we get paid more money. But they play, and then we watch, and then the
Mhm.
cycle continues, and then we blame suppression or oppression, whatever word you want to hear. So when are we going to be like, hey, I'm taking my life into my own hands. I'm not giving $50,000 of my money to Gucci, to Louis Vuitton, to Balenciaga, right? We promote those brands. We are mascots. We are mascots for those brands. We're the ones making the purchases. Oppression and suppression is not forcing us to run up in Gucci as soon as we get money in our hands. So it's like, how are we accountable, if at all? If ever, is it ever going to happen? Or are we constantly going to blame, well, it's economically unfair and we only have 2%, access to the wealth. Well, what happens when you get the wealth? What do you do with it? And I mean, as a whole, because I know there are people of color who get money and they buy property and homes and they flip it and then it's real estate. But I mean, as a whole, in general, what we do with our money, coming from where I come from, the first thing I saw the Black and Latin kids do when they got money was run out to them name brands. No one was forcing them to do that.
Well, I think there's some truth to what you're saying, but also too, we have to keep in mind that corporations market for a reason.
Mhm.
Marketing works. Like when we're talking about this, you see, it's not just a race issue; it's an issue of class as well.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, they market these goods and these services, and this is why, like, they'll have an entire crew dedicated to urban marketing. You know what I'm saying? And then what they'll do, they'll find a celebrity rapper or whatever the case is, and they hire them and they pay them millions of dollars to market it to this group of people. So that's something that's very targeted. You know what I mean? So I think when we have this conversation, man, we have to be having it along the lines of good faith. And so that's why I won't dismiss when I believe that there are valid points raised by the opposing side. But again, if we're talking about, this distribution of economics, we have to keep in mind what competition is.
Mm-hmm.
You see, like, just think about it like this. If say you wanted to set up a store and you wanted to, sell goods and services, do you think that you would be able to compete with an Amazon? Or do you think you would be able to compete with? Exactly. You wouldn't be able to compete with Walmart. And the reason why is because you're undercapitalized. You don't have the same type of money that these long standing institutions and corporations have. You know what I'm saying? And so, and that's what I mean when I say that there's this suppression that's taking place. And look, when we look at where Black people are in this society, when I say a permanent underclass, it's going to be specifically by and large Black people, because when you look at the racial hierarchy in this country, when you look at the socioeconomic hierarchy in this country. Black people, by and large, are at the bottom. And while it's true there is a middle class, that black middle class, that black upper class is also on the bottom. If we mention, these one-offs and these celebrities like LeBron James and stuff like that, those are outliers. Like, think about this. Back in the early 1900s, you had Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was very successful in his day and time, but in no way would anyone suggest that just because Jack Johnson was a successful boxer, a successful athlete, that the larger system of Jim Crow wasn't having a punishing effect on the larger, greater black community. So right, so and so that's why I think it's important for us not to just take one celebrity or one public figure who may be doing well and somehow drawing a conclusion that means that we all can do well, because it just doesn't work like this. Not only are we dealing with the way race works, we have to deal with the way that class works. There's a class component to this too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I was talking about LeBron. My point about that is that somebody, he figured out the formula to get where he is. And the guy who owns the guy who started Black Entertainment television. Yeah.
Bob Johnson.
I mean, the guy who was he ran for president. He was CEO of Godfather's Pizza. He's dead.
Herman Cain. Yeah,
Herman Cain. I mean, it's really easy to dismiss all of them, but somehow they figured it out and did it. And so that's what I'm saying, is that in terms of where I 100% agree with you, Amiri, 100% is on sentencing in the legal system. You can't convince me that the way the laws were set up, and especially on narcotics and drugs like that, it disproportionately hit black people. And there is a prison economy. There is, in my mind, there is no doubt. You want to talk about oppression? Right there, I would have 100% agree with you. 100%.
Right.
So let me jump in real quick so we could segue, because we don't have Amiri for long, and I really want him to get on these other topics. I'm in the middle. I think both things can be true. Just because you see some black millionaires running around does not mean that suppression doesn't exist, that racism doesn't exist. That does not mean that. But with that said, I will say that there are a myriad, that there are enough examples of black people that are millionaires, okay, that are business owners, that now are billionaires, okay. Now we're seeing billionaires, that we have seen enough of them to get up off our ass and avoid the landmines of marketing, because they market to us, right? We got all the liquor stores in our neighborhood. We got all the churches in our neighborhoods, right? There's no Whole Foods there, right? Food deserts all up and down neighborhoods, but bodegas everywhere. But I just think that, at this point in time in 2023, we've seen enough success come before us, but it doesn't mean that we still don't have to avoid the landmine. So I do see both sides of it, but it'd be ridiculous to say, well, there's a couple millionaires so everybody can make it, because that's not.
The Obama, I'm tired. The Obama is such a white talking point, George. Please throw it away.
No, one guy. Hold on.
Matter of fact, I wanted to say something about that too. I think we have to keep in mind that Obama was half black and half white, and then
you heard the media calling black all the time.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying he had a white. Yeah, but listen though, he had a white mother and a black father, and then too, even with he did get a sizable portion of the white vote. But I just want to mention that if it wasn't for the rest of us voting for him as well, he wouldn't have won either. So I just wanted to put that.
The reason I say throw that away, the reason I say please throw that away, because just because there was a biracial, as he says, but let's say he's a black president, because that's what everybody said he was. Doesn't mean racism. Oh, kumbaya! There aren't like a ton of racists, right?
I never said that. It
doesn't mean oppression is not there. You're talking about LeBron James.
You're
all
making
these
a straw man argument.
No, I'm not. You're saying look, LeBron James made it. All these, people can make it. Nobody says people can make it, but you're talking about like the extreme. I don't know. I might know one millionaire in my pack. Let's talk about as a whole. And just because a guy gets elected president one time, and we've had 46 or 40, 46 or 45.
Yeah, it's 46.
46.
Somebody has to be the first one. Okay. Somebody has to be the first one. Okay. Jen, New York City, how many black mayors have they had? I remember Daryl Dinkins.
Yeah, I remember David Dinkins.
David Dinkins. Okay.
I don't know. I haven't been in New York for a while.
Well, I'll just go back to my town. Okay. In Jacksonville, Florida, Northeast Florida.
No, we get it, George. We get it. We can move on from that. We totally get it. Like, I'm in the middle with that. I agree with some of the things you said. I also agree with some of the things Mary said. And plus, I'm a very self-determined person. So I'm like, if I want it, I'm going to go get it. Okay, thank you for the super sticker, Dwayne Rhodes. So I want to talk now about YouTube's favorite word, accountability. Now that we've established there is suppression, there is oppression, there is systemic racism, right? You know, when are we held accountable? And as people of color, when are we held accountable? And also, when we are given these opportunities that we have fought for, cried for, bled for, got arrested for, pined for, complain about, march for, scream and yell for, when these opportunities do come, what do we do with these opportunities? So I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to show you some videos. Mary, I want you to comment on this first. So I just want to really quickly pull up the thumbnail for everybody who's just walking in. Please hit that like and subscribe for me. This is my thumbnail for today. Did racism evolve to inter-racism, meaning racism amongst our own people? We have the Zeus Network, who is very popular, Black-owned. He claims that it's about to be $1 billion business in a couple years. He mostly has, women of color fighting each other. Then we have the manosphere, the Black manosphere specifically, which is very anti-Black woman. Okay. And we have what I would relate to minstrel shows on TikTok. That woman is very, very popular on TikTok, and all her videos are her slamming her face into watermelon. And then we had Deion Sanders, who was talking about athletes basically like they were cattle, and giving them these character descriptions like, okay, well, if this one is a single mother, if this man comes from a single mother, he'll make a great defense lineman. And if he has two parents, he'll make a great quarterback. So he was actually talking about athletes the same way white people talk about athletes, like they're cattle and what they're good for. So I want to get into that, and I want to show you videos. They are seconds long. They're not long at all.
Okay.
And then I want to start the conversation. So this is the woman. Her name is Johnny Watermelon. She has pages and pages and pages and millions of views. And this is her content.
You hear that? The end has come.
Okay, so that's Johnny Watermelon. This man is also very, very popular. His name used to be Groove Gorilla or Gorilla Groove. He since has dropped the gorilla from his name, and now he changed it to Big Groove. But he also has a huge following, and this is his content.
You know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? Shark Bite!
And this is what Deion Sanders said about the athlete.
Quarterbacks are different.
Yeah.
We want mother, father, dual parent. We want that kid to be 3, 5 and up, because he's got to be smart. Not bad decisions off the field at all, because he has to be a leader of men. It's so many different attributes in what we look for. Offensive lineman. Defensive lineman is totally opposite.
What do you mean?
Single mama. Trying to get it. He's on free lunch. I'm talking about just trying to make it. He trying to rescue mama. Like mama barely made the flight.
That one chipped my heart. I'm not even gonna lie. As tough as I am, that one chipped my heart when he said that about single mothers and what have you. So a friend of the show, Tristan, he made mention to me. He was like, "Well, look, all the times we fought to get representation in Hollywood, Zeus is in there now." And that's what the owner of Zeus does with his, now he can represent, right, women of color, people of color. And that's the content that he uses. Also, social media, huge platforms for both Johnny Watermelon and for Big Groove. They on their own, without suppression or oppression. This is what they're choosing to portray about who they are and what they are. So when you look at things like that and Deion Sanders saying these things in a room full of white men that are laughing, when are we responsible? When are we going to be called to task? When these are minstrel shows. That's what I compare them to. They're minstrel shows.
Well, no, I totally agree with you. One of the ways I've characterized the black sector of YouTube is as a minstrel show, because what you have is everybody is looking to get that viral video. Everybody wants to go viral. Everybody wants to have influence. Everybody wants to have followers, and they want to make money. But in the interest of doing that, what are we actually doing to the society? We live in a time when people who feel like they're nobodies can become somebodies by putting on a body. And so they'll fall into whatever character they have to in order to get traction, and so it's definitely a problem. And I think when the good people, the people who really have the knowledge base and the articulation to speak to these issues, stand up and make their voice be heard, then we can maybe, correct some of this behavior. And listen, like these things that you see those people doing and saying, it only reinforces someone like Scott's Adams' view. You see, because if he even mentioned about the videos he sees on social media, what I'm saying? Just think how. Listen, I remember coming up, and one of the things that we would talk about is how when the media would ever come to a black neighborhood, they would find the most ignorant representation of a black person they could.
They're still doing it.
Yeah, but now with social media, we're lining up to do it ourselves because, like I said, people want to make money. But what are you doing to our image while you're doing that? So, I think you raise a valid point.
I do want to mention that there are several petitions both to take down Big Groove, which is the black man that was eating the pizza, and there's also petitions against the Zeus network. So there are people trying to take these platforms down. How effective they're going to be? Probably not much, because a lot of people like Zeus Network, and he said himself on the Breakfast Club, he said, hey, we're about to hit $1 billion. Whether that's true or not, that is how he's advertising his network. And then you have Big Groove. He has millions. You saw Johnny Watermelon, 4 million views. People are sharing her videos. Specifically with I did hear you say some things on the Star Report about the Black Manosphere. Do you think that the Black Manosphere specifically, because it started for white men. I did do a little bit of research. The manosphere was for white men, and then it was adopted by black men. Do you think is the manosphere more destructive than positive?
Well, they're absolutely destructive. They haven't done anything to raise the vibration of between black men and black women in the way of relationships. They scapegoat single mothers. And look, they're not only are they and a group who's I find to be riddled with internalized racism, internalized whiteness, but they're very sexist as well, sexist towards their own women. And see, this is why we can't have an atonement or an at-one-ment in the black community, because we have these types of subversive elements running around, and then they want to take a paternal posture as if they're in a position to lecture to people instead of understanding that you have to reason with people to reach consensus. That's the mark of true leadership. The mark of true leadership is being able to reason with people to reach consensus, not taking this paternalistic posture and lecturing to people. You see, and aside from that, look, one of the observations I've made about the Black Manosphere, when you look at the Tyree Nichols situation and what happened with those 5 police officers, the type of rhetoric and messages they put out about single mothers and their children, especially their sons, is the same type of view that those police officers would have deployed against someone like Tyree Nichols. One of the things that you'll never hear a Mary do or say is somehow suggest that a man is less than a man simply because he was raised by his mother and not his father. So they'll deploy this type of misandry against other black men. You see, and so they're very destructive. Now, one of the things I'm interested in is how do the gentlemen on the panel feel about the black manosphere?
I was going to ask that also.
Okay.
Something you said about the. It'll come back to me, but yeah, that was going to be my next question. Yeah, I want to hear you guys. You frequent YouTube. I'm sure you started with the white manosphere. I know you see a lot of what's going on in the black manosphere. What's your point of view? And be honest. Don't be politically correct. Like, we really want to know what you think of it.
Go ahead, no saying.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
That's a first.
Wait. There's what I wanted to say. I don't call them single mother homes. I call them father abandoned homes. I don't know why they're called single mother homes. Like, it takes two people, but I digress. No, saying, go ahead.
No. The only reason I even know about any of the manosphere was obviously YouTube, but is when I saw what was going on Cynthia G's channel, and I was just perplexed that I was like, holy cow, man, she's brutal, you know? And then you start hearing about like Fresh and Fit, and I went and looked a little bit at Fresh and Fit. To me, listen, if I spent over 30 minutes watching any of this manosphere, white or black, then it's probably too much. I mean, I barely looked at Fresh and Fit, and I thought they were clowns. So that's what I think. I think they're clowns.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, they look like.
Yeah.
No, they look like Timon and Pumbaa to me.
They were showing this. They were showing this video of supposedly, the girl doesn't know that that's his car, and and they come to him, and it's so fake because they got different camera angles, and of
course.
Like, these guys are dumb, man. That's the only thing I really seen of Fresh and Fit. And then Kevin Samuels, I knew about him after he died, basically. And then all the people that come up on Jen's panel, or at least in the chat room, calling him the Godfather.
He is the Godfather of perpetrating frauds.
Yeah,
he's another person that I feel like is, and that's not to say I didn't hear him say things that may have been valid, but I've also heard him say things that were misleading. We have to stop pretending like life works in a linear fashion. It doesn't.
Yes. That's exactly what I told Jen. Like, he's leading people like Tate, this guy Tate.
Exactly. He's another one.
I'm like, the dude's rich. He's a kickboxer. He's got a fantastic body. That's not going to work for the guy sitting around with a gut. They act like if you do this, you're going to get this. No, it's never that way. You got to kind of do your own path.
Well, listen, I say that they're the new preachers. A lot of people don't go to church anymore. They come to church on YouTube, and these are the preachers. And what do preachers do? They give you hope. And what did I say? These guys are all peddling hope to these guys that cannot date outside of their lane, but the hope feels so good.
Yeah.
They make these guys rich. Before I pass the mic to George, what's up, Haran DeMarco? Thank you for the super chat. Haran DeMarco says, hey fam, just dropping in. Let's be clear. Racism and degradation of the black community is often excused or enabled when a black hand is profiting. Blacks suffered and profited from the crack era. Damn. This is true. George, what do you think about the black manosphere, honestly? What do you think about, how black men talk about black women? I'm sure you've seen it. We've all seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've been to a few of their channels. One guy comes to mind is Just Act Right or something like that. And he's kind of, his main thing for a while was like the Passport Bros, justifying the whole thing. My thing about the manosphere is whether we're talking about white or black, they do raise, I think what needs to be said here, it's your sign, some, not all kind of thing. I think you, Jen, and maybe No Saint, and I don't know, Amiri, I don't know you that well or anything, but I think y'all tend to want to gravitate to the more extreme end of people, the yahoos that I call, that are there, but So what I'm saying is there is some good in it, and I think especially when I've seen some channels where they're talking about, they did a video of like one lady going through talking about, you know, what she looks for in a man, and one guy, he comes up and says, look, you know, she's right about this. You know, if you need to get in shape, you need to get your money right, you need to have a plan, you know, you need to, you know, go on and on, right?
Yeah.
And so there is some good in it. That's my thought. And I'm saying this. I think they needed to have this outlet to get this out. If it just stays in what I call perpetual bitch mode, then it's a failure. The whole thing's it's a waste of time and a failure if they don't ever do anything positive beyond that. But
I think that's what it's gonna stay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
a support group. It's a support group.
It's been 10 years. It's been 10 years of this, you know, and now they're doing a passport bro thing, and I wish them well. Go and never come back.
I say the same thing. Why don't you go and stay?
Yeah.
I do want to ask this question, Amiri, and you can't fix it with both things can be true. If I take that statement off the table, right?
Okay.
Since we're in a society now where we all have one of these, we all have a platform. Now we have not only Zeus Network, but Forest Bias Networks is also Black owned, right? People are starting to own things. That was our biggest issue. We didn't own anything. We're starting to own things. We got clotheslines and we're independent music, what have you, right? If Black people are lining up to do the minstrel shows, to promote the toxicity of our communities, to promote the dysfunction, right? Soon as we got the mic, it's like, all right, we're giving you the mic. Well, let's get 6 girls in here, Black and Latin, to whoop each other's asses all over the place. And then we're going to charge you to see it. If that's what we're doing with our time on the mic, how can we also, in the same breath, complain about suppression and how white people are portraying us on television? How can those two things exist in the same world? I don't see how that's possible. I see now, if we're talking it's a class thing, then I think Black people are proving that, oh, look, now we got the power and we're just like white people. So maybe it's not a race thing. Maybe it's a power thing. And everybody on the bottom is expendable.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think the people who are making these arguments, like the one I've been presenting here tonight, are different from the people who are lining up to get the mic and do what they're doing because they're looking to exploit our community. You see what I'm saying? And so this is what happens. So you have a group of people who may be what we would consider a racial monolith, but in terms of ideology, philosophy, background, we're not an ideology. And so we're not a monolith. And so you'll have some people who seek to gain a certain level of prominence so that they can exploit, so that they can exploit other Black people. And I think that's what's going on. But in no way does that delegitimize the complaints and the concerns of the people that I represent, which are the masses of Black people who are just trying to live their lives every day, do what they're doing, put their kids through school and pay their bills. You see, so there is a demarcation there. We're not the same. I'm Black and they're Black, but we're not the same.
That's interesting that you say that, because I was having a conversation with a friend and I was like, there's a certain demographic of Black people that have to divest from another demographic of Black people. I mean, that is where we are now. Like, it's like right now we're just like at a do or die, and we must separate. Sad as it sounds, it's like there are people that are hell bent on bringing down the culture and bringing down the image, no matter what you do. The guy, the guy that owns Zeus Networks, he was very loud and proud on Breakfast Club. We're about to be $1 billion. You think he cares about image?
Right. Exactly.
He cares about the image he's putting out? Absolutely not. George, you wanted to say something? Because I got another question from Miri before.
Oh, I just wrote, Miri, you raised some good points. At the end, if you can think of a book or two off the top of your head that you would recommend to me to read, I'd
Okay. Well, I know I can give you 2. I can give you From Here to Equality by Dr. Sandy Darity. He's a Duke economist, the foremost leading expert on reparations. Forget about these YouTubers running their mouth; they're not experts. And then you have The Color of Law. I can't think of the last name of that author is Rothstein. I can't think of the first name. Oh, and then there's another one. There's When Affirmative Action Was White by Ira Katznelson. And so those are, you can read those three books, and it kind of gives you the background and the history of what's taking place in this country. And real quick, while I'm talking about this, I do want to say that when it comes to reparations, that when black people are given a certain level of economic justice, is going to raise everybody else, because a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So if black people get lifted, everybody else gets lifted. So, we need to get that check up out of them. You know what I'm saying? What you going to say?
Yeah, you're right. And on reparations, I've evolved on that. I used to be dead set against it. I had nothing to do with it, kind of thing. But then I started thinking, now wait, there's I could go on, but I agree with you in principle. My only thing is now, how are you going to? Because I think about, this gets into the foundational Black Americans, who are the real blacks and all that.
Right.
How do you work that out? And,
right.
Like I told Jen and them, I'm actually 0.8% African American. So, I mean,
I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing, George. I see what you're doing, buddy. But I don't think that's going to work. Yeah.
Do you think, Mary? Do you think collectively, if that reparations check was to ever hit that direct deposit, what are they going to do with it? Oh, we lost Amiri. Amiri said, "I'm out. You ain't gonna question me about my reparations check. That's my money."
Well, I wanted to. While I have the chance, Haran sort of hit the point that I was thinking. There's
okay. We got Amiri back. We got Amiri back.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh, you was asking me something, Jen?
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think collectively is going to happen once that direct deposit hits, that reparation direct deposit? I don't know. I'm guessing that Louis, Gucci, Balenciaga, Hermes is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I do think you'll see that. You'll see, some expensive spending by some people. But I think also too, you'll see others, make smart investments, make wise investments, actually start businesses, actually start, purchasing homes. I mean, look, when we're talking about, the condition of the Black community, we have to look at, that's why I said there's empiricism to this. We have to look at what the home ownership rate is for Black people. And right now, today in America, the home ownership rate is the exact same rate it was at in the 1960s before the Fair Housing Act. Jeez. You see, so yeah, so so you'll have the knuckleheads, but I think for the most part, you'll see many Black people make wise decisions, learn financial literacy, and actually use that money to improve their quality of life and the quality of life of of their children and grandchildren. And when we're talking about reparations, it's only about $350,000 per member of a family that's ADOS. And I'm not making that up. I've actually interviewed Dr. Sandy Darity on 2 occasions. So I have had correspondence with him when we're talking about this issue. And so I think that's even an added incentive to white America to support the reparations movement, because you're going to have some money that's going to trickle right back into white corporations and into white communities' coffers. So that's what I'm saying. It'd be a win-win for everybody. And you ain't got to worry about hearing our mouth about it no more too.
Well, I definitely think that, especially we have businesses, companies, multi-billion, multi-trillion-dollar companies, insurance companies that had made profits off of slaves. They should be certainly ones that
right.
A lot of that bill, along with taxes. Listen, we get our people worry about that. People don't worry about where the taxes are going until you bring up reparations. Then all of a sudden, it's a big deal. There's so much waste. There's so much waste.
Amir,
people off.
Amiri, what's the biggest pushback that you get from the Black manosphere? Because I've had my run-in with them like every other woman.
Right.
You know, that's on YouTube. You will have a run-in with them if you had the slightest contradiction to their point. What's the biggest pushback that you get from them? Welcome, Haran DeMarco.
Well, no, I mean, just they're gonna do what they always do: name call. Call you a simp, try and impugn your masculinity, your manhood. They'll talk about your women and children. Listen, these men are problematic. And for all this talk about masculinity and manhood, I remember when one of the principles that typified manhood is that you keep whatever issue you have, you keep it to that man. You don't bring his wife and children into it. And I think that speaks volumes about the level of character and integrity of these men. And I use that term loosely. I mean, even if you want to look at the whole passport bro thing, and I have a son, he's 22, and I would never teach my son that the solution to his problem is running from his problem. So think of how they're socializing these young men while they fancy themselves as towering pillars of masculinity and manhood.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to say a couple of things. Can't really stay too long. First of all, the gentleman right here on my right, he's saying a lot of profound stuff. Thank you for showing up on the show. We definitely need more insights like that. Overall, I don't know if anyone noticed, but I was in and out of the chat, just watching things. I just want everybody to really recognize and really pay attention to the fact that none of the guys from the manosphere, the Black manosphere, are in the chat right now.
And they usually are.
When it's time to discuss real Black issues, when it's time to come to the table with real solid ideas, none of these guys can be found.
Right.
And there's a reason. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that the Black manosphere is not. I will say this, and any one of you can come up here and debate me on it. It is not about the upliftment of the Black community.
At all.
It has become a weaponized mouthpiece to further divide the Black community. Okay, they are not supportive of things such as therapy. They don't discuss economics. They don't discuss ownership. Basically, anything that will turn us into an independent class and not a submissive and docile class and an economically dependent class. They stay clear away from those topics.
Right.
They discuss. For instance, they rather discuss the worthlessness of a Black woman's degree than discuss the fact that a great deal of our youths are functionally illiterate. That's a huge talking point that they don't talk about. They don't talk about joblessness in the community. You know what I mean? They don't talk about anti-intellectualism. You know what I mean? They don't talk about the fact that many of us are unwilling to compete with other races of men. They allow those toxic ideas to perpetuate. These men have no character. They hide behind avatars, and I promise you, a good number of them have women who don't look like them, and they are in gated homes. They are in ivory towers, spitting all of this rhetoric behind closed doors. And trust me, I am almost certain that they be shucking, jobbing, and yassa bossing every Monday morning, you know what I mean, to make sure that, you know what I mean, their white preferences happen, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, again, this is a great discussion. It's real fucked up that I had something to do. Well,
you're here every other time.
You know what I mean?
But
I been able to get my word in edgewise, Ron.
But go ahead, brother.
Right. Well, no, because I really got to go because I'm about to. I have a show. I have a show I'm doing tonight. So I do have to go, but I appreciate it, Jen.
Absolutely.
The two white brothers that was on the panel. I appreciate it.
Crackers. Those are our neighborhood crackers. I said they're my favorite colonizers. Those two are my favorite colonizers. Amiri, before you go, I did screenshot something you said that I thought was really good, and I shared with my little group. And can you just elaborate a little bit? You said the marginal man can never be satisfied because everything is emasculating for him, and nothing is empowering for him. I love that statement. Can you elaborate a little bit before you go?
Well, yeah, the marginal man is it's a psychology term, and it was something that that W.E.B. Du Bois wrote an essay on. It was the marginal man, and what the marginal man is a man who suffers from double consciousness. So he's a double-minded man.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically when we're talking about black men in the black manosphere, many black men have this marginal man complex. It's a complex. And so what it means is in the world of men, they feel subordinated because they're black. But then in the black community, they feel subordinated because they feel like the woman is over them. And so there's this thing where now this marginal man has an inferiority complex to white men, but a superiority complex to his own woman. And so when you have that type of mentality, no matter what's given to him, he'll never feel complete. He'll never feel empowered. And then any and every little thing will further emasculate him. This is why you saw the type of response you saw with the whole Rihanna and ASAP Rocky thing. You see, so when men are marginalized like this, that's what you're going to be dealing with. They find everything emasculating, but nothing empowering. So they're in a constant state of flux.
Mm-hmm. Wow. On that note, please come back, Amari. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you for your time. People in the chat want to know what your channel is.
You can catch me at the Amiri Brown Show right here on YouTube. I've been doing shows maybe once or twice or 3 times a week, and I'm going to start being more active because when wise men are silent, fools multiply. So I'm forced to speak.
Thank you. I tell the brothers that come up here all the time to please, I don't care if you have 2 people listening to you, please speak, because people in the manosphere are loud as fuck. And that's really the issue. There's no balance.
Exactly.
There's no balance. So we need you. So thank you for camming up and doing what you do. Right. We appreciate your time, and we thank you so much. Please come back.
All right. I look forward to it. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
All right.
I gotta run too, y'all. Y'all take care, man.
All right, Haran. Thank you for stopping by. Wait, you gonna leave me up here with the whiteys? Actually, there is one last story. No, I know you gotta go. I know. Hey, family first. Get that done. We'll catch up in the DMs.
In the DM. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Okay. So hey guys, how are you?
Oh, we're third. So there we go.
There you go. There is one thing on a lighter, funnier note, but still race related. I thought this was funny. So Miss Thing, fired Tennessee cop who was involved in department sex scandal, files lawsuit claiming she was sexually groomed by her superiors. And that is why she was having sex with all those black cops. She was sexually groomed. What say you? She is now suing. She claims she was sexually groomed, and that is why she had sex with all those police officers.
Well, she's a 304. That's what she is. And she get around
George,
you can sue.
A 304.
You can sue for anything, obviously. I'd have to hear, but yeah, that sounds like. When it comes to sex, you can claim a lot, especially when it comes into government agencies. So, I've seen people win lawsuits working for the government. And sometimes it's just one of these things like they're just going to, maybe not lawsuits, they'll get a payout. Like, okay, let's move this guy around and just to get rid of the noise, But I don't know. That kind of sounds like buyer's remorse or whatever you want to call it.
Writer's remorse.
Yeah.
Writers. Thank you for the super chat, Ishmael. Ishmael says reparations need to be funding land, factories, and educational institutions. Shakir Latif says if she was sexually groomed, it was before she was a cop.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up, and Amari's gone now, but there was a few things he said. One of the things I would have pushed back on a little bit of what he said is when he was talking about Walmart and Amazon, and we all know the time when Walmart wasn't big and Amazon wasn't as big as Walmart when they started.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, and then it's ideas. Now, I think when what's his name? Not Elon Musk, but the guy who started Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Jeff
Yeah,
Bezos.
that's
So I
Bezos.
think he was in that time and chance. I think he was in the Valley, the Silicon Valley, when all those startups were getting money and everybody was throwing money into startups. So you do get funding, but you got to have an idea too. And those people are usually, and they come in all races. But those people are really above the cut. They're not just your average person getting a loan and starting a business. That's rare. But another thing I was gonna say is what you're finding out is, like the guy with Zeus, is that I think it is more about, it's first of all, what I see in the conscious community and is you think that there's going to be some savior come out of your community and pick up the rest of the community. And that's really never how it's going to work, because white people don't do that either. Bill Gates isn't, I mean, they'll donate for tax breaks, but you're not going to have, so when Zeus gets up there, it's like OWN. I think when OWN started off, they were showing a lot of or the Learning Channel, showing a lot of, and then suddenly they said, this ain't making any money. Let's put on 17 wives and one dude or something like that. And the trash TV started coming. And the same's happened with Zeus. And when it's your money and you got an investment, you're going to put on whatever sells. And it's not going to matter. Now, I realize that could be sensitive. Black people don't think it should be that way. But you're finding out that even the black people that make it up to the top, they're the same assholes that are running the white companies, dumping shit into people's water.
Yep. So that's what I was mentioning earlier, where it's just a power thing, and power corrupts, and it's not race specific. Power corrupts. Like, everyone talks a good, bleeding heart game, and I want to, and then when they're there, they're like, no, I'm putting out 3 shows, and all 3 of them are going to be women rolling around on the ground and throwing their wigs and pulling off their eyelashes. He's at a point where according to him, it's supposed to be $1 billion network soon. He really has the power to put out good content. But then it's like, then we're at what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is he putting that out because people want to see it, or people seeing it because he's putting it out?
And then I told you the other day, Oprah didn't start off being Oprah. Oprah started off being not Jerry Springer, but close, or the Jenny Joneses. And then she made enough money, and she's one that's different. Like, there are some people that are going to go that route. She's got enough money. She's like, okay, I got enough money, and I'm going to go ahead and put out some more responsible content. But yeah, the majority of people are not going to do. Like, if you think about LeBron James and his $1 billion, he was talking about the oppression, and it was very stand up when you're talking about the oppression in his community. But at the same time, his shoes are being made over in China on slave labor in China.
Of course.
And he won't speak against China. Why? Because the NBA wants to get into China and make billions and billions. It's not good for the brand.
Of course. So, I think that, I got to say, I don't know. I guess it's nice to see that people are trying to fight back, but it's like David and Goliath. Like, petitions are circulating for the Zeus network. I just Googled it. There are petitions. Several people put petitions, but how many people are signing them? And also for that guy that was eating the pizza, there's a petition to take him off of TikTok, but there's no reason to take him off of TikTok because he's not violating any community standards.
I was a little bit perplexed with the guy with the pizza, like, other than the watermelon one really got me, because to me, I'm saying, okay, when Stephen Fetchit and the lady who played in Gone with the Wind that won the Oscar for the maid, I can't remember her name now. That was the roles they could get at the time. So, but this is just an quote unquote easier way to get clout, an easier way to make money. But it really is. And if the person was young, it's hard for me to believe that they wouldn't know the history behind that, but that was disgusting. But the pizza it's really disturbing. Like, there's no variety. Every single video is her eating a watermelon that way. And she has millions of followers and millions of people sharing her videos. That is her content, eating watermelon. It really is like
beyond disgusting. A Big Groove, he's the guy, he just breaks out dancing in the middle of restaurants. And then every restaurant he goes to, now they're using him to promote their restaurants. So what he does is he goes to different restaurants and he just dives into food like some animal or some maniac or some idiot. And that's his shtick. But people dislike him so much, they literally started a petition to get him thrown off of TikTok. But because he's not doing anything,
you know what?
He's only disrespecting himself, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to, if I could, Jim, go back to the comments you were making about Deion Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of reflects what I'm about to say. It's kind of like how you and I saw the same clip, but had two different reactions. And
okay,
here's my reaction. And I'm going to, is that having been, grew up with Deion Sanders, basically, in the news and all that, I took the part about the single mom. Here's how I heard it, was that he's looking for a guy that's hungry, a guy that wants it. He's willing to do anything to get out of that situation. He's motivated, highly motivated. I can see you're like squinting your eyes like, I don't see how you can think that. But
no, I see how you can think that. I completely see. I completely see how you can think that.
Looking through it's when I never thought about it the way you pointed it out. And I was like, somebody who's lived that. Because you were a single mom, right?
No, sir.
Oh, you were.
Why you think I was a single mother? Because I'm Puerto Rican? Because I'm Puerto Rican? I was not. I was not a single mother. She had a very good dad. She still has a very good daddy. I never went to child support court. We were good, George.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
We were good. The relationship didn't work out, but we were good. Them two were peas in the pod. They're twins. They're like, you know what I mean? They look exactly alike. I'll tell you why I had that reaction, right? Because you're right. I did see it in my neighborhoods. Also, there's a negative stereotype attached to single motherhood, especially when it comes to Black boys and Black men. And that's why I had that reaction. Not because it was my personal experience, but I felt like Deion Sanders, first of all, I think the NFL athletes, I think they're cattle as it is, right? The way they measure them. I mean, them guys, they're measuring their speed and their height and their nostrils and all of that, right? It's big business. But the reason why I felt that way is because I was like, wow, it goes back to what No Saint said. It's like, oh, so at the power, all of you are assholes. At the power mark, all of you are assholes. So he was talking about this human being like he was cattle. Like, oh, let's hope that, he was raised by a single mother and he's hungry and he's struggling because then he'll be good for what I'm trying to do. Right? Not good for him so he can succeed in life, but good for us. He's going to be a good quarterback for this organization that's paying me a lot of money. That's how I saw it. I was like, oh, so it's just like, it's a power thing, not a race thing. Because he's a Black man talking about other Black men. Like, he don't give a fuck. Like, he's like, I don't care. You don't have a dad? Great.
I followed him when he was at Jackson State, and he did a lot for the Black community.
I heard
around there. He did a lot, and he, if anybody, you talk about somebody using their privilege, okay, that he leveraged it to like get them their facilities upgraded, getting them uniforms from Under Armour. They have like a change of uniform it was all these things he was doing. And he talks about, now, this is him talking. The reality may be completely different about these men getting them through college, graduating and stuff like that. Because I saw him on one clip, he's talking to his team and he's like, look, the vast majority of you, this is where the football career is going to end for you. So you got to have something to lean on. And so he was talking about, getting an education and all that. And so, but going back to the whole thing about just seeing it different and putting myself in somebody else's shoes, looking through their eyes, that's really kind of like more for me.
Yeah, I just think, I'm a mother. So I can imagine what it's like to struggle raising a son because some asshole, you know what I mean, abandoned him. It's not easy. Single mothers get a really bad rap. And I'm like, no one ever mentioned that they are father abandoned homes. The father left. The mother has no choice, right? Than to stay there and stick it out. Yet she gets villainized for being the one that stayed to take care of the child. I think it's horrible. I think it's a narrative that they run with, especially in the Black manosphere. I think it's absolutely disgusting. So it was a like the perfect storm for me watching that scene. I know he's done a lot of things for students and used his privilege, but I think this is where we can insert both things can be true.
Right.
I didn't like him in a room with white men laughing at the possibility of some Black kid having the struggle, wanting to get his mother out the hood, right? And his mother barely made that flight. I didn't find the humor in that.
Yeah,
I didn't find the humor in that.
You pointed that out, and I was like, looking at that, I was like, really, that does kind of look really. You could almost say he was maybe playing to the white people, and
the visual was just not good. It was really the aesthetic, the visual. Like if he was in a barbershop with 4 or 5 Black guys and they're all talking shit, it's a different situation. But when you're sitting there, you're the new hire, okay? You're the one that's getting the least amount of money, I'm sure, out of the people giggling in that room. It looked a little, the visual was not good for me. And then throwing these kids under the bus and what this child may have gone through, struggling with his mom, and she almost barely made the flight. I was like, well, that was some asshole shit to say, buddy.
Yeah, it very much has the look of the Black guy amongst the, and I'm not saying Rich Eisen is racist, these people aren't racist, but saying the things that the white people want to hear, and the white people, that's right, he's just like he's one of us. He's saying all the things we say, but he gets to say, because he's Black, we can't say because we're white, but he gets to say Black, But what I saw too, listen, he did a great job at Jackson State. He's stepping up a little bit in class, Colorado State, but I really hope that was just poor judgment on the way he was speaking.
Yeah, I think so.
Certainly hope it was poor judgment on the way he picks players, because that is going to be a disaster if that is the truth. If he's looking at, this person, single mother. No, that's not how these coaches in the SEC do it. They don't sit there and wonder what kind of parent situation they have or if they're on welfare. They look
I think it's what I said earlier about that. He's looking for the very motivated dude to come in there that's hungry, ready to, really to prove something and get to the next level. What was I going to say? He's the first athlete, I think. He created the brand. And what I'm about to say, he is like really, really smart. He is very good at playing the media and getting the media to kind of follow along with him. Mm-hmm. So he's some of those remarks, like you said, Jim, and No Saint, he may have been pandering to that audience, but it's kind of like in his mind, he's building it up for something else to get them to get the positive news coverage, to get the players in. He's out there talking, he's kind of thinking, strategically, because he said in a documentary about him, he says, you think I act, he's like the prime time persona. He says, you think I act like this off camera or just in everyday life? He says, you can ask anybody that knows me. He says, I'm not like this. He says, I do this for y'all, and y'all eat it up. In so many words, this week.
There's a method. What do they say? The method to the madness. Thank you so much for the super chat, Big Elvis, the Chef Rosenberg. Good to see you, sir. So again, it was just the visual. I'm not taking from that man what he may or may not have done. I understand you got to be, it's football. You got to be a big asshole about it. I get it. I just thought there was a better way he could have said that. Like, I usually target the guys that are hungry or come from,
Right.
a certain type of background because, they're going to fight for what they want. The whole single mother, they're starving. He's on a free lunch. She barely got on the flight was disgusting. Like, it's literally, we said that earlier. We still have to treat these people like they're human beings.
Right.
Not giving birth to the cattle that's going to make you millions of dollars. So that's the only thing I don't like.
One thing that I thought was, it's more class specific about whether you're white or black, about putting the quote lower class people in a bad light. The videos that they show every Black Friday at Walmart where people are fighting over toasters, comforters. Look at those people, when you see they're all, and it's like showing, look at these people, it's like, it's really dehumanizing when I see that. And it's almost like, in Walmart, my brother works for Walmart. And they pretty much, they know what they're doing when they do that stuff. They know what's going to happen, but they want the exposure. They exploit those people. I guess what I'm saying.
So you're saying that they're exploiting white people
and black people. It's more of a class thing.
I gotta feel better about my space in life. So when I see those videos, I'm like, yeah, I'm not them.
I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. Haran said something interesting. I'm sure people this will bunch their panties, but Haran says, what does the black, I guess the manosphere provide the black community in total outside of telling men to get their passports and arguing with black women? Can someone point the statistical metrics of their influence? Passports went up.
I guess so. Yeah.
The people that what I mean, the passports. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a rhetorical question. He's basically
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
one thing I was going to touch on too, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you about the petitions going around to take those 2 channels off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you support that? Because when you told me, I was like, oh no, this you don't want this, no matter how bad they may be.
I don't support it. What I do support, because again, determinism, I don't like those shows. I don't watch it. That's how easy it is for me, right? Also, if I'm watching a show where there's constantly negative stereotypes of anybody, I don't care if it's white, black, yellow, Asian, whatever. If it's a constant barrage of these people rolling around on the ground and pulling wigs off and throwing drinks, because there are white shows that are toxic too. Yeah, Jerry Springer. Like, after a while, in the beginning, it's like, oh, that's funny. And then, episode 2, it's like, oh, they're doing it again. And then episode 3 is like, what the fuck is this? And then episode 4 is really like, change the damn channel. So that's why I'm not, I'm not in support or anti those petitions. People doing what they got to do. I am in full support of more people writing. I am a writer. I am shopping a show. I am in support of more people opening their mouth to give the world balance. Like Amiri said, I'm going to start doing more shows. That is what we need. We need balance because we cannot stop the Zeus network. We cannot stop, the black manosphere or the white manosphere for that matter. We cannot stop it. What we need to do is have balance, and all the good people just want to sit back because we don't have that malice in us. We don't have that trauma in us. Although we've experienced bad things, those of us that have, we were able to get over it, right? And when you get over it, you don't want to revisit that.
Right.
Who the fuck wants to stay on YouTube? And I've gotten into it with these guys before, but I don't want to argue with these dusty clowns, in the manosphere, right? Because I got out of dealing with those type of people way back in the Bronx. So why am I going to cam up on YouTube and then, now I'm going to revisit that world, and I left that. So, but we just have to, I'm in full support of people having their own content, and if you're one of the good guys, be one of the good guys. Or it's going to be like the cops. Like, there's some good cops. It doesn't matter because the majority are bad.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And people say, well, there's some good things in the manosphere. The majority is bad. The majority is bad, right? I
Okay.
can say,
Let me ask you something. Name one good thing, just one, that the manosphere does. Because I feel like you're jaded. Okay.
She said it. She said she tells people, they tell people to get in the gym and level up, level up your money.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess that they tell people to go in the gym.
Okay.
To,
All right.
and that's, I mean, that's good for health. But see, even that, here's the thing that it's the thing where it's the mentality of, oh, I used to be nice to people, but now I'm gonna be an asshole because that's what you like. So it's like the manosphere. The issue I have with the manosphere is that they can't stop at self-improvement, right? They preach self-improvement for vengeance. That's
Yeah.
the issue I have with the manosphere. If they was just like, hey guys, let's get it together, work out, do this, do that, you'll be able to attract women, you'll be interesting to women now because you're fit and you know what I mean, you read this book or you traveled or you did get a passport. Get a passport, guys, and go be worldly, see the world. So when you come back home, you have something to talk about with these women. I would be all for it. But that's not what's happening, is it?
Right. Yeah.
So that's the issue I have with it. Not the self-improvement, here for the self-improvement, but it's self-improvement for vengeance. That's the issue I have with it. So I don't see anything positive out of it. I know I have spoken to some guys that are like, you know, well, I'm one of the good guys in the manosphere. But then they're still, you know, I've seen those same guys on the panels where other guys are berating women. And they just sat there because they're one of the good guys in the manosphere. So what good are you? Right? Just like the cops, like, hey, I'm a good cop. Well, you're not going to tell on those 3 crooked cops. So what good are you, really? To who? Like, who are you? Okay, you're good. Great. Them 3 guys just beat someone to death. Are you going to tell?
And what's one thing that the woman's sphere needs to do? They need to change. What is it? I know you know. I mean, certain things you've seen with the quote unquote modern women. This is a serious question because I know you see this stuff.
Okay, so here's the thing. I do not frequent those channels either, but I do say those vitriolic women ran channels are a necessary evil because these men are evil. They're vitriolic. So they need the balance, right? Like the manosphere channels, they need Cynthia G. Like I don't watch Cynthia G. I was on her show one time.
I don't know.
So
I've heard y'all talk about her, but I don't know anything.
Oh yeah, she's a beast, but she's a necessary evil, right? But she's hell on wheels. Like you don't want it with Cynthia G. And she interviewed me one time.
Annalicia, she's like, you know, bigger, more like a hot.
Okay, she's like Annalicia, except she knows when to pause to let you talk. She can have a conversation with you. She can debate you. Annalicia is like a Tasmanian devil. Like there's no pausing her. She doesn't know how to have a debate or a conversation with someone with you know, and be civil about it. Unless I've seen her do it on other channels. For some reason here, you know, she can't do it. But what I would say to those woman sphere is the same thing I tell the guys. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Like I see women and men desiring things and demanding things that they don't qualify for. Why is it that I don't walk into Ford Models or Victoria's Secret? Because I'm not 5'9" or 5'10" or 5'11". So how stupid would it be for me to knock on that door and be like, hey, you let me in there. I'm 5'4", 5'3", 5'4".
Mm-hmm.
But women and men do this. It's not gender specific. Women and men have demands and expectations that are ridiculous. I've seen it, and not just in YouTube Lab, and I'll pass the mic back. But when I was a kid, okay, when I was dating as a little girl, 17, 18, I had girlfriends and they were like, he has to do X, Y, and Z for me. Cause I was like, ooh, really? You're going to demand that? Like I was always a little taken aback how people just felt entitled to certain things. I'm like, what the hell are you providing that you're going to demand this guy gives you X, Y, and Z? I was like, wow, you guys are, I don't know. You're good. You're good. I'm always in the mindset of like, how can I make this situation reciprocal? Whether it's a friendship, business, romantic relationship? How can I make it reciprocal, right? Most people are like, what can you do for me?
Oh, you said reciprocal. Oh, let me be quiet for a minute and let No Saint talk.
Look, George is being so nice today, No Saint.
Being
You need to
nice.
appreciate this.
No, I mean, thanks, George.
Because I'll sit here and keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I mean, I was just listening to you guys go. I'm kind of done with the manosphere portion of it.
Yeah, see this right here. This right here is great. Geronimo Margot said the Michael B. Jordan debacle was about average men living out their revenge fantasies through a moment not connected to them. Very pathetic. It was so true. I'm like, do you know that? In my opinion, it made Michael B. Jordan look dumb to do that. In my opinion, no one has to agree. I thought it was not the time or the place to bring it up, and even after this blows over, these guys that were like, yeah, tell her you're not corny anymore. You're still not going to be Michael B. Jordan tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. I will say something I've been saying, and I don't know, Jen, if you've seen this or not, and I think you'd be interested in it. I'm going to tell you some of the reactions emotionally I had while watching these videos. So somehow these scam fish videos have been coming into my algorithm, and I've been watching them.
What is it?
Okay, so it's a Scamfish is a group that helps people who are getting romance scammed, right? And the people come to them saying, "Hey, is this a, I'm people that have spent sometimes their life savings, $200,000, because the person's saying, hey, they steal a picture off the internet." And and then they're chatting with them. You're my queen. Da da da. They have a little,
I've had those in my DMs.
Yeah, right. And usually they're in Nigeria somewhere, right? But they have it and a couple things. What I found really funny after the first guy they showed, oh, he was my type, and this guy, and he's got big muscles and everything. And then when the Scamfish people check him out, well, and yeah, this is a scam. Actually, this picture they stole, this guy's actually gay. Well, by the next 2 or 3, I'm like, oh, this guy's gay too. And sure enough, the picture of the guy is a gay guy, right? Because I'm like, yeah, gay guys, this is stereotypical. Take care of their bodies, at least the ones that are on it, and have always dressed nice. This is totally stereotypical. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, so Scamfish, you got to look at these videos. So a lot of times you see it's older women, and they get suckered. Like maybe they're widowed, sometimes they're married. So the ones that are married, and sometimes they're like, well, me and my husband, he's a nice guy, sort of the stuff you're talking about, but he's not doing it for me anyway. But some of them will say, well, now after they find out it's a scam, well, yeah, me and my husband trying to work it out. Those are the ones that I'm like, you got what you deserve. Like you got, because
no Saint, they were out there looking for love and excitement.
They're holding on to this guy as a backup plan. Like they want to leave him. But the thing is, like, that's the crazy ones, because and the husbands sometimes like the husbands find out, and I'm talking about you, but some of them are sad, like it's but it's almost like what you say, like in the manosphere, these guys they're not in their lane, and these women aren't in their lane, and they're given hundreds of thousands of dollars, same scam every time. Like, oh,
I love one time I went one time to on Kendra G. Matter of fact, I got one in my DMs right now. This army guy, right? But the cool thing is you can grab a picture and throw it into Google Images, and then Google Images will show you who the person really is.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
It's funny that you say you have one in your DM, because that's exactly, they usually say they're in the army or they're a contractor, they run this business, and it's elaborate. If you watch these scams, it's like they'll send them like you're sending this here, and then they can look at the guy's spreadsheet and it looks like he's got like a $1.5 million in his account. Yeah, I need to send the money to this. Man, it's elaborate, and sometimes they'll VoIP them too, call them, and I just thought, I find it fascinating, sad in a lot of cases. But what you're saying is, it's these women that are going out of their lane, because you look at the woman and she's not, it doesn't look like you.
Right. I'm like, it's like, what was that guy? It was a Netflix special. He conned all those women out of money.
Yeah, I remember seeing that too.
You remember that? I was like, come on, sis. Like,
And they get in love with the words.
of course. Hey, listen, I was love scammed. I was love scammed. Okay. And this motherfucker was a songwriter, so he had it down pat. That is what he did for a living. He wrote love songs. So I was trust me, hook, line, and sinker. But it's all about like stay in your damn lane. Everybody be so much happier if they freaking this is what I was gonna say. I was and then we can wrap. I was on that dating show Kendra G for fun, right? For clout. And she said, well, she was like, what would you like to date? And I was like, I gave her all the sixes. Yeah, 666, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, well, she was like, you look like you can get a guy that makes six figures. And she was like, here's the thing. She said, you have to know two guys that fall under the category that you're asking for. And one of them has to be pursuing you. That's how you know you're in the right dating pool. Or you qualify for what you're asking for. So let's say if a woman, let's call her average at best, right? Rest in peace, Godfather. Let's call her average at best. If she's average at best and she says, well, I want a guy that makes at least $1 million. Well, do you know two of those guys personally? And is one of them currently pursuing you? A guy that's worth $1 million. If not, then that's not your dating pool. It's a reach. And the same thing with men. If they want a woman who's submissive and fit and feminine and friendly, do you have those women in your contacts right now? And is one of them interested in dating you? That's how you know whether or not you're in or out your damn lane. Why is that so hard? No one wants to be fucking average. I know it's difficult.
Yeah, well, all the commercials say you can have it all. You can do whatever you want, Jen. Whatever you put your mind to, you can do whatever you want.
You're right. And that's the business model a lot of these charlatans on YouTube are using. You can have it. Andrew Tate was like, yeah, just get in a dream and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. One thing before you wrap up, have you seen the TikTok filters for one that's compares who you are now to the teenage you?
I've seen it. I've been looking for it so I can do it, but I don't. I've seen it. It's really trippy.
I did it to myself. I was like, I know what I looked like way back when. I was like, it wasn't so good on me. But some of these other women that did it, it was like, oh yeah, wow. And then there's another one that uses AI to basically like take Jen and it figures out where they could, using artificial intelligence, make your face and everything look better. Make you even better than what you are. And
that's every filter. I mean, I use some of those filters. It makes your face perfect.
The filters I see, I think maybe it's Instagram or something, but they don't look good to me. It look weird. They soften the face and I don't know.
What I don't like is that everybody, like I scroll TikTok and I'm like, yo, everyone looks the same. It's like an alien race now where all the women use the same filter. So they all look, same eyes. Filters all do the same shit. They do the eyes like this and they point the nose. And so I'm like, everybody looks the same. Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. But anyhow, this was interesting. This was really, really interesting conversation. I'm glad you guys were here for it. It worked out. Lily was exhausted. I told her to get some rest. So we'll be back for Freaky Friday.
So how do you feel having the two token white boys escort you tonight?
I mean, listen, the show must go on, George. I could be up here with a damn frog or, the Geico lizard and I'd have to keep it moving because that's how my brain works. But I think it was quite apropos for this conversation. So I think it worked out really, really good.
It was a good show.
Yeah, it was a good show. Absolutely. And thank you for being honest, right? Because I'm not one of those people. Now, what you about to say, white man? I'm like, let the white man speak. I think that we don't have, I'm big on, we don't have to agree. I like the best gift you could give somebody is making them comfortable to be who the fuck they are, especially if it's not hurting me. Right?
Yeah, I think in this world we live in today, I mean, we all kind of grew up around the same time where things were a little bit easier. I mean, they might have not been politically correct, but people didn't get canceled for it, and it made for a lot more ease of. You could make jokes and not get canceled, or you could say things and people. Now it's like you said, we talked about the people on Twitter, whatever, the bees that sting you to death, and you have no chance. And some of it's just virtue signaling, and I think it's a lot better for comedy if we just loosen up a little bit and allow people to have their thoughts. And then when you allow people to have their thoughts, you can have banter like we did a little bit tonight, go at it a little bit, but you can also, people learn off of things like that, and then they can change their opinion.
I mean, we've learned from each other, just sharing here on the panel. I've learned, you know what I mean? I think this is the most I've hung out with white people my whole life. I mean, I've worked with them. I've worked with them my whole life, but like actually kicking it, and having deep conversations. Like I can talk to anybody. That's one thing about me. I can make a whole conversation with the guy that cleans up the garbage to the CEO. I'm that person, right? I can talk to anybody about anything. But this is really cool. This is really fucking cool. And I'm just like, a couple of people hit me like, oh, why you let them say? I'm like, I don't do that shit. I don't do. If you don't like what you see, watch something else. Watch something else. Like I like people to say exactly what it is they're thinking and feeling. Because how do we learn? You know what I mean? And somebody else may be watching us and learn something from our interaction, and that's cool.
Yeah,
and that's cool.
The best video I saw you make on a short, Jen, that meant a lot to me was the one where you said people need to learn how to lose. That one day I'll tell you why that resonated with me, but
a lot of people like that video.
that video was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, a lot of people like that video.
Yeah. So
I'm like, learn how to lose and leave people be. Jesus. Everybody wants to win. All right, guys, this was really, really cool. See you back tomorrow for Freaky Friday. Don't ask me what we're talking about because I don't know yet. I'll make something up and it'll be in the community tab. But Amiri was great too.
Yeah.
I heard him on the Star Report and I was like, hey, come on over. Pull up for me. Pull up so we can talk to you. I love people who have opinions and aren't easily offended. Like he was hearing, listening to us say all kinds of things. And I wasn't, I was throwing things at him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he handled it well. And I love people like that. I'm like, let's see what this does.
Yep, that was good. No, that was a great guest for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. So good night. Are you going to be the substitute teacher?
Yeah.
Haran is a terrible substitute teacher, by the way.
Why?
He just told us get out.
Okay.
Well, so tomorrow's Freaky Friday. That's always a lot of fun, always a lot of interest. So make sure that you get in here tomorrow early. Hit the like button if on your way out. We'll be here for you. It's going to be a good show tomorrow night. So I love you all. Class dismissed.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, guys. All right, guys, and we're out. Pull up mañana for Freaky Friday. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this stream tonight. It was very, very insightful. Please follow the Amiri Brown Show. It's very nice of him to grace us with his presence. And don't forget, if you're catching a replay, Cash App on the block with Jen. I have to get back to some emails I promised I would get back to. All right, guys, good night. See you mañana. We'll be back with the crew. Okay, the whole crew will be here. All right, guys, good night. And I'm out.